Okay. Executive order, revocation of certain executive orders concerning federal regulation. So so this is definitely overriding Trump stuff. Like, I'm pretty certain that's a fair assumption. By authority vested and made president, but as president by the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered that Section 1 policy is the policy of my administration to use available tools to confront the urgent challenges facing the nation, including the coronavirus disease, pandemic, economic recovery, racial justice, and climate change. To tackle these challenges effectively, executive departments and agencies must and agencies. Wait, what? I don't understand why it's in parentheses like that. Agencies of agencies, maybe, must be equipped with the flexibility to use robust regulatory action to address national priorities. The order revokes harmful policies and directives that threaten to frustrate the federal government's ability to confront these problems and empowers agencies to use appropriate regulatory tools to achieve these goals. Executive Order 13771 on January 30th, 2017, reducing regulation and controlling regulatory costs. Executive Order 13777 on February 24th, enforcing the regulatory reform agenda. Uh, so I'm not, revoking, evaluating, and improving the utility of federal advisory committees, promoting the rule of law through the improved agency guidance documents, promoting rule of law through transparency and fairness in civil administration enforcement, an executive order of increasing government accountability for administrative actions by reinvigorating administrating PAGO and hereby revoked. And keep in mind, that's all, in 2019, October 2019. So that effect essentially has nothing to do with policy one. So these are revocation of the orders. Implementation, the Director of the Office of Management and Budget and the heads of the agency shall promptly take steps to rescind any orders, rules, regulations, guidelines, or policies or portions thereof, implementing or enforcing the executive orders identified in Section 2 of this order as appropriate and consistent with applicable law, under including the Administrative Procedure Act. If any case such as rescission cannot be finalized immediately, the director and the heads of agencies shall promptly take steps to provide all available exemptions authorized by any such orders, rules, regulations, guidelines, or policies as appropriate and consistent with applicable law. In addition, any personnel positions, committees, task force, or other entities established pursuant to the executive orders identified in Section 2 of this order, including regulatory reform officer positions and regulatory reform task forces established by Sections 2 and 3 of Executive Order 1377, shall be abolished as appropriate and consistent with applicable law. I fucking love legalese. Who doesn't, right? Nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect the authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or head thereof, or the functions of the director of the Office of Management and budget relating to budgetary administration or legislative proposals. This order shall be implemented in a manner consistent with applicable law and subject to available appropriations. This order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit substantive, God damn it, why can't I fucking say that word? Oh, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. Biden. So, what the hell does this mean? Well, you see, there's a, I mean, the parentheses that kind of reducing control and regulatory costs. Reducing regulation and controlling regulatory cost. Enforcing the regulatory reform. Evaluating and improving the utility of federal. Why is he revoking? Um, re- Enforcing the regulatory reform agenda. Evaluating and improving the utility of federal. Why is he revoking? See, this is the shit that we need to start paying attention to. Like, hey, if y'all really want to get into freaking politics, you want to actually have a freaking say so in the matter, how about we get a little bit more well informed and understand, like, hey, you know, like, okay, what the hell is this? So tell me, what the hell do you think this is? Because I just see that freaking increasing government accountability for administration actions by reinvigorative administrative. Does that have to do with the fucking VA? That Pego shit? Why the fuck is revoking these orders? That sounds a little bit freaking misguided. Increasing the pressing accountability for administration. Oops. Hopefully I didn't just get all stupid. I mean, increasing government accountability, administrative act is reinvigorating. And are you fucking serious? They gave me a 404. You know, I'm just because my internet connection is just where my mindset is. All right. So let me read. Go through this. I'm in section 2, and now you want to see why to be pissed at Biden? You want to see why to be pissed at Biden? Well, in this video, you will see how and why it is appropriate, or like how it is possible to freaking be upset with our Jesus Biden. Jesus is so freaking in awe of Biden that he decided to remove Christ from his name and he's Jesus Biden now. All right, Jesus Biden. And you know what? I'm just a common man, right? I'm just a common man, and I'm getting pissed because of my understanding. I only made a section 2, so and we just went to the White House, and I got a 404. Increasing government accountability for administrative actions by reinvigorating. Pardon me. I'm sorry. Let me take a moment real quick. I'm sorry. You might have to do the same thing. Increasing government accountability for administrative actions by reinvigorating administrative pay go by authority invested in me as president by the Constitution, blah. Purpose: in May 2005, the Office of Management and Budget, OMB, implement a budget neutrality requirement on executive branch administrative actions affecting mandatory spending. This mechanism, commonly referred to as administrative pay-as-you-go, requires each executive department and agency, what? Why is that like that? To include one or more proposals for reducing mandatory spending whenever an agency proposes to undertake a discretionary administrative action that would increase mandatory spending. In practice, however, agencies have applied this requirement with varying degrees of stringency, sometimes resulting in higher mandatory spending. Accordingly, institutionalizing and reinvigorating administrative pay-go through this order is a prudent approach to keeping mandatory spending under control. Policy. It is the policy of the executive branch to control federal spending and restore the nation's fiscal security. This policy includes ensuring that agencies consider the cost of their administrative actions, take steps to offset those costs, and curtail costly administrative actions. What do you think is included in this freaking COVID relief bill? Why do you think that freaking Biden just executive ordered this executive order? Because freaking Biden is actually freaking going to be spending ourselves into freaking hell. Definitions for the purpose of this order. The term discretionary administrative action means any administrative action that is not required by statute and would impact mandatory spending, including but not limited to the issuance of any agency rule, demonstration, program notice, or guidance. And by the term increase, in the context of mandatory spending, means an increase relative to the projection in the cost in the most recent president's budget, as described in 31 U.S.C. 1105, and mid-session review, as described in 1106, of what is required under current law to fund the mandatory spending program. First off, real quick, do you notice how Trump's executive orders, or at least this one, can actually be read and understood, versus Biden's they pretty much put freaking lawyers on the damn job, and so that's why they speak in this confusing language known as legalese. And I'm not saying that this isn't legalese, but this is well, you see, it's a different accent. This order applies to this Section 4 scope. This order applies to discretionary administrative actions undertaken by agencies if an agency determines that a proposed administrative action that would increase mandatory spending is required by statute and therefore is not a discretionary administrative action. The agency's general counsel shall provide a written opinion to the director of OMB explaining that legal conclusion, and the agency shall consult OMB prior to taking further action. So, agency proposal requirements. Before an agency may undertake any discretionary administrative action. Sorry, I had my cigarette back lit. The head of the agency shall submit the proposed discretionary administrative action to the director for review. Such submission shall include an estimate of the budgetary effects of such an action. Wow, is that called a business plan? Is that called a business plan? Is that called a business plan? Fuck me. If an agency's proposed discretionary administrative action would increase mandatory spending, the agency's head submission under subsection A of this section shall include a proposal to undertake other administrative actions that would comparably reduce mandatory spending. Submissions to increase mandatory spending that do not include a proposal to offset such increased spending shall be returned to the agency for reconsideration. The director shall have the discretion to determine whether a proposed offset in mandatory spending is comparable to the relevant increase in mandatory spending, taking into account the magnitude of the offset and the increase in other factors this director deems appropriate. Like I said, Wow. Wow. Issuance of administrative PAYGO guidance and revocation of OMB PAYGO memorandum within 90 days of the date of this order, the director shall issue instructions regarding implementation of this order, including how agency administrative actions proposals that increase mandatory spending and non-tax of receipts will be evaluated. In addition, within 90 days of the date of this order, the director shall revoke OMB Memorandum M0513. So you see, like, you got to. Why did these come into play? You know, excuse me. Waiver. The director may, waive the requirements of Section 5 of this order when the director concludes that such waiver is necessary for the delivery of essential services for effective program delivery or because a waiver is otherwise warranted by public interest. Now that's a fucking point right goddamn there. And when was this made? 2019, October 10th, 2019. Trump did not impede anything. At least from what I can tell with my lame brain. Flexibility for the director of OMB to pursue additional deficit reduction. The director may pursue additional deficit reduction through agency administrative actions. Section 9, General Provisions. Nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect the authority granted by law. The authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or head thereof, or the functions of the director relating to budgetary, administrative, or legislative proposals. This order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law and subject to the availability of appropriations. This order is not intended and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. All right? So, the director may waive the requirements of Section 5 of this order when the director concludes that such a waiver is necessary for the delivery of essential services for effective program delivery or because a waiver is otherwise warranted by the public interest. Did Trump stop the delivery of anything? Or did he just freaking make it harder for people to, not spend our money during a pandemic like freaking Biden is doing, just spending freaking over $1 trillion, $2 trillion on this other relief package? And well, just from this little bit of research, we can see how the floodgates are opening up and our country is going down the tubes. I'm thinking. But see, this is how to attack Biden. This is how to attack Biden and protect Trump, right? Isn't this? So yeah, I'm such a fucking hater. Maybe you actually should sit down and do some homework with me. Take care, be safe, be kind, stay strong, love you all. And you see, we got 30 executive orders right now to do research on. Freaking, so far I just did one. Part of one.